Hi, I'm Warren Sprouse, host of this Bible Forum, here every Sunday night from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk about life from a biblical perspective. And periodically, I've been talking about the 5 things that Christians should know about the various candidates for President of the United States. Today, we're talking about Rick Perry, former Texas Governor Rick Perry threw his hat into the already very crowded race for the Republican presidential nomination about a month ago today or yesterday. And here are 5 facts relative to what he believes. Rick Perry grew up attending Baptist and Methodist churches. He grew up in the South. Baptists and Methodists are big in the South. When I was a kid, vacationing in South Carolina, we had relatives that went to the Methodist church. We had relatives that went to the Baptist church. I don't think they knew there was anything else. But Perry grew up in Paint Creek, Texas, what's been characterized as a pinhole-sized Texas town. Had 2 churches, had a Southern Baptist church, had a Methodist church. In the 1950s and the 1960s, you probably couldn't tell the difference between them, except one would dunk you and the other would put water on your head. They all pretty much were the same. And he had a membership in the United Methodist Church. That didn't happen until the 60s. It was just Methodist Church until the 60s. It became United Methodist. Nowadays, he has joined the non-denominational crowd. Perry and his wife Anita moved to Austin in the 1980s. They attended Tarrytown United Methodist Church. That's the same church that former President George W. Bush and his family attended when he was Texas governor. The Perrys served communion there. They taught confirmation classes. They entered their children in confirmation classes. But in 2007, the Perrys moved to Lake Hills Church in Austin, a mega church with an evangelical message. Rick Perry, in the 2012 election, had a lot of religious tone to his rhetoric. He said things like, quote, America is going to be guided by some set of values. The question is going to be whose values? This was at Liberty University in Virginia. He says, I would suggest it is those Christian values that this country was based upon. And more famously, Perry has said he feels he became Texas' longest-serving governor and a 2-time presidential candidate at the direction of God. I'd been called to the ministry, he says, in a 2012 stump speech. I've just always been really stunned by how big a pulpit I was going to have. I truly believe with all my heart that God has put me in this place at this time to do his will. What he doesn't say, and what was going around at that time, was the visit from 2 folks that are connected to the New Apostolic Reformation, men who visited him in the state mansion there in Texas and told him that God told them that Rick Perry was going to be the man God used to bring this country around. Now, the New Apostolic Reformation, you know how these people are. We talk about them all the time. They believe that they're here to usher in the millennial reign of Christ. They're going to take over the world for Jesus. Rick Warren has Africa. He's using his own money. There are 10 areas of control around the world. They've got them all mapped out with apostles in those areas. They claim that the only problem they have is how to move the money around. And they ever figure that out, they're going to get going. But this is why, apparently, at least as the story went, Rick Perry entered into this thing in the first place. And he came in a neophyte. He admits now that he was not ready for prime time. Rick Perry organized a prayer rally to pray about the moral crisis in this country. In 2011, the thing called The Response was a rally that drew 30,000 people to a National Football League stadium in Houston, raised a whole lot of support for the governor from national evangelical leaders. Quote, the prayer event created a major political opportunity for Perry. Intense media coverage allowed him to broadcast his Christian commitment to a national audience just 1 week before formally launching his presidential campaign. It was all being orchestrated. In 2014, in a private ceremony involving just friends and family, Perry was baptized in the chilly waters of Little Rocky Creek near Independence, Texas. It was the same creek Sam Houston, the president of the Republic of Texas, was baptized in 1854. After Perry's dunking, the Texas Tribune speculated it may have been some sort of personal preparation for the rigors of the 2016 election. Afterward, Perry visited the small historic church Houston attended with his wife, Margaret Lee, and played a hymn on the old foot pump pipe organ. It's hard for one to forget, the article says, in a 2012 debate against other Republican hopefuls, Perry could not remember all 3 government agencies he planned to eliminate if elected. This is one of the things that he looks at, points back to, and says, I just wasn't ready. But here's the question that I have. Growing up Methodist, nobody dunked me. Wasn't until I became a Baptist that I got dunked. Perry was baptized in 2014. Did he get saved then? Is that what he was all about? That up until that time he was just playing church? And then something happened and the man got saved and knew he needed to follow in the Savior's footsteps in believer's baptism? Or was it just another political stunt? We don't know. There's nothing in anything that's written here that says the man's a Christian. I'm not saying he's not. But when you go to the extent, this is a Christian publication, when you go to the extent to put out there what this man believes and you don't say those words, it's because you don't know. And I'm here to tell you, if a man stands up and starts talking to you for about 10 or 15 minutes, you should know whether he's saved or not. You ought to be able to tell. He ought to tell you. Somebody ought to ask him. I think he has been asked. But to date, it hasn't been recorded. What's the problem here? Don't know. Rick Perry, former Texas governor, good man, running for president. You vote for him?